It seems that history keeps repeating itself in the world of love and marriage, Huntsville, and once again, the center of attention has become none other than Martell's longtime mistress, the woman often referred to as his concubine. After all these years of drama, embarrassment, and being dragged into every scandal connected to Martell Holt, it appears she is once again frustrated about being discussed. Apparently, she was unhappy about how the reunion went and is upset that her name and her involvement with Martell were brought up yet again. But let's be honest here, what exactly did she expect? For 6 whole years, she has been at the center of the chaos that destroyed a marriage, fractured families, and shaped an entire reality TV storyline. Now suddenly, she wants to act as if she's a victim of circumstance, as if everyone else is using her for a storyline. But the truth is, she inserted herself into a situation that never had any dignity from the start. And the fact that she's now complaining about the show mentioning her name is both ironic and predictable. Because if you've spent years being attached to a man whose every move has been recorded for the world to see, then you can't suddenly act surprised when those same cameras continue to follow the consequences of those choices. According to reports, she posted and deleted a message on her Instagram, a screenshot of some text messages she allegedly wanted to send to Martell. And in those messages, she said something that got the entire internet buzzing. She wrote, "Y'all have been using me as a storyline for 6 years now and made millions. I swear I'm done." Now, that line right there is telling. Because if millions were made, who exactly made them? It's definitely not Martell. He's been struggling to rebuild financially ever since his marriage to Melody Sherry fell apart. He's been losing business opportunities, struggling with custody battles, and scraping for relevance. So if she believes millions were made off her, she needs to ask herself a serious question: where did those millions go? Because they surely didn't go into her pocket. Then came another part of her message where she said she didn't care what Marceau allegedly lied and said about her on the reunion, and that whatever was said better get edited out. That alone shows you how bothered she really is. People who don't care don't rush to Instagram to type furious messages and delete them minutes later. She went on to say something disturbing and graphic, making wild claims about Marceau being in the back of the club called Black, allegedly involved in inappropriate behavior. And that's where you can tell things have spiraled into pure desperation. Because when people are backed into a corner, when they can't control the narrative, they often resort to throwing wild accusations to distract from their own embarrassment. And this time, it's clear that the reunion didn't go her way. The energy shifted. People have finally stopped protecting Martell and his side stories. The cast, once divided, has realized that aligning with Martell or his mistress brings nothing but chaos. The truth is, Martell's concubine was never meant to be part of the main circle. She was never going to be embraced by the fans or the cast. Because no matter how she tries to justify her role in Martell's life, the foundation of that relationship was built on betrayal, disrespect, and broken vows. She said she's trying to move forward in life. But how can you move forward when every few months you're back online defending yourself over the same man who still doesn't publicly claim you with pride? She's been repeating this cycle for years, saying she's done, deleting Martell from her socials, then showing up in courtrooms, on lives, or in subliminal posts right after. Every time the storyline dies down, she reignites it with a post and delete moment, reminding everyone that she's still bitter, still watching, and still tied to the same situation she claims she's over. And that's where the deeper truth lies. Because if she truly wanted to move on, she would have done it by now. There's no reason to keep sending text messages, screenshots, or subliminal shots if peace was really her priority. But peace doesn't come from exposure or attention, it comes from letting go. And letting go is something she clearly hasn't learned how to do. When she said, "I went easy on these lame clowns," and called others stupid people, it exposed just how defensive she still is. That bitterness is still burning inside her. The same bitterness that made her believe she could replace a wife, that she could build a relationship out of another woman's pain, that somehow the world would eventually respect her if she stood her ground long enough. But instead of being respected, she became the punchline of the show. People mock her, dismiss her, and refer to her only by the nickname that has followed her since the start, Martell's concubine. She's spent years attached to Martell Holt's name, yet what does she have to show for it? No ring, no stability, no public acknowledgement, and no peace. Just a long trail of social media meltdowns, deleted posts, and rumors that never seem to end. And the more she complains, the more the public sees that she's still holding on to a fantasy that never existed. Because in reality, Martell moved on a long time ago, not emotionally, perhaps, but definitely in how he uses the situation. She was useful when she created drama. She was useful when she kept his name relevant. But now, as the storylines shift and Martell's own reputation continues to crumble, her usefulness to him has faded. The sad part is, she still doesn't realize it. She still acts shocked when people call her out or when cast members mention her name at reunions. But that's the price of being part of the chaos. You can't play with fire for years and then complain about the smoke. Every time she defends herself, she reminds everyone that she's still stuck in the same circle, the same conversations, the same regrets, and the same man who has repeatedly humiliated her on national television. Let's be real, the reunion drama was inevitable. Once Melody left the show and Martell had no more access to her personal life, he became desperate to find another way to stay relevant. So what did he do? He started turning on the same people he used to call his friends. The Scotts, Destiny, even his supposed allies, no one was safe. He tried to expose everyone, bringing up alleged secrets and stories from their past. And when that didn't work, he brought back the one thing he knew would get attention, his concubine. She thought this would be her time to shine, maybe even her chance to be seen differently. But instead, it backfired. The cast reportedly came for her. Marceau allegedly had things to say about her. The same people who once stayed silent about her role now decided to speak up. And for someone who's spent years trying to avoid public humiliation, that must have stung deeply. Because when the cast finally starts airing your business, when your name becomes part of the reunion discussion, it's no longer about Martell's choices, it's about your reputation. And that's exactly what she's trying to protect. That's why she posted those messages. That's why she said, that better get edited out. She knows that once that reunion airs, her name will trend again, and not for good reasons. The internet has no mercy. And after years of watching her throw shade at Melody, play victim, and post cryptic messages, people are tired. They've seen this act before. The public no longer sympathizes with her. They just shake their heads and move on. It's also worth noting how she tries to portray herself as being above the drama, saying she doesn't clap back on live, that she's focused on moving forward. But the very act of posting and deleting those messages shows that she's still knee-deep in the same drama she claims to hate. The truth is, she's not above it. She's addicted to it. Because if she truly didn't care, she wouldn't be feeding into it every time someone mentions her name. And let's not forget, this isn't the first time she's claimed to be done. Every few months, we hear the same declaration: she's done with Martell, done with the drama, done being talked about. And yet, she always ends up right back in the same cycle. Following and unfollowing him on social media. Showing up to court dates. Posting cryptic comments. It's the same pattern over and over again, and at this point, it's almost predictable. But here's where things get deeper. The reason she keeps going back isn't love, it's pride. She doesn't want to be seen as the woman who wasted all those years on a man who never made her his priority. She wants to prove to the world that what she sacrificed meant something. But no matter how she tries to frame it, the reality is harsh. She spent her youth, her time, and her peace of mind on a relationship that brought her nothing but humiliation. And Martell has his own mess to deal with. His public image is in shambles. He's been clowned for years for losing a good woman, for being unable to take accountability, and for surrounding himself with drama instead of growth. And even now, instead of rebuilding himself quietly, he continues to associate with the same chaos that keeps him stuck. The concubine represents the reminder of everything he lost, everything he destroyed, and everything he refuses to take responsibility for. Meanwhile, the rest of the cast has started to see the writing on the wall. They know that sticking by Martell brings nothing but problems. That's why alliances are shifting. You can see it clearly. The Scotts and others are realizing that distancing themselves from Martell might be the only way to survive another season without being dragged into the madness. But as they pull away, Martell gets desperate. And in his desperation, he keeps clinging to his past. And that's where she comes in again, the concubine, his old faithful source of controversy. But this time, the tables have turned. The same people who once ignored her are now using her name in storylines. The same Martell who once defended her has grown quiet. And that silence speaks volumes. Because when a man stops defending you in public, after years of using you for attention, it means you've outlived your purpose in his story. That's what's happening now. She's realizing that the fame, the attention, the storyline she thought made her special has now become the very thing that humiliates her. And that's why she's angry. That's why she lashed out in that post. She doesn't want to face the fact that, after all this time, she's still just the concubine. Not the partner, not the equal, not the woman who won. Just the concubine. The one who was used, mentioned, deleted, and replaced whenever convenient. The saddest part is that she could have had a different path. If she had chosen to walk away years ago, to rebuild her own image, to focus on her peace, the public might have moved on. But she stayed. She stayed in the spotlight that was never meant for her. And now, every time her name comes up, it's attached to humiliation. The truth is, the reunion didn't expose her, she exposed herself. Her reaction, her posts, her bitterness, all of it revealed that she's still deeply invested in what people say. And at this point, no one's buying the "I'm done" act anymore. Because being done means silence. It means detachment. It means you stop giving people access to your emotions. But she keeps doing the opposite. And while she's out here demanding that things get edited out of the reunion, the irony is that her own actions guarantee she'll stay in the storyline. Because every time she reacts, she fuels the narrative further. Every time she posts, she writes the next chapter. So if she truly wants peace, the only way forward is silence. But silence doesn't bring attention, and attention is the one thing she can't seem to live without. When the reunion airs, viewers will see the real dynamic. They'll see how Martell's choices continue to haunt him, and how the concubine's presence only amplifies his downfall. Because no matter how many years pass, the damage from that affair continues to echo through every relationship connected to them. And now, even the people who once tried to shield them have grown tired. This is the cycle of Martell Holt's world: betrayal, chaos, denial, repeat. And the concubine remains caught in that loop, still believing that somehow, someday, she'll be vindicated. But that day will never come as long as she's still trying to fight for validation in a situation that was never built on respect. So when she says, "I'm done," it's hard to believe. Because the truth is, she's never done. She's addicted to the same man who ruined her peace, to the same fame that embarrasses her, and to the same attention that keeps her stuck. The public sees through it now. They know that behind the posts and the deleted messages is a woman who feels used, exposed, and defeated. And maybe that's the real reason for her anger, not the reunion, not the cast, but the realization that after 6 years, she's still standing in the same place while everyone else has moved on. That's the reality of being Martell's concubine. A story that never ends, a lesson that never gets learned, and a reputation that time can't seem to wash away.